She was just serving tables, working hard, smiling through the exhaustion like she always did. To most, she was invisible, but that night one customer noticed something on the check she handed him. His hands trembled. His glass slipped, and suddenly the whole restaurant went silent. What was written there wasn't just ink. It was proof of a truth buried for years, a truth that could shatter power, wealth, and prejudice in one instant. How could a waitress's signature bring a billionaire to his knees? It was supposed to be just another shift. Long hours, heavy trays, and the kind of forced smile that only comes from someone who's learned to swallow disrespect. She was the type of woman people overlooked. A young black waitress working in a high-end restaurant where the wealthy dined and the staff disappeared into the background. But behind her quiet presence was resilience, a fire shaped by years of being underestimated. That night she clocked in like usual, not knowing the next few hours would drag her into a storm she never asked for. A single detail, something so ordinary, was about to pull her life into the spotlight, and nothing would ever be the same again. The restaurant buzzed with its usual rhythm, glasses clinking, soft jazz playing, laughter echoing from tables draped in white linen. She moved through it all with practiced ease, balancing trays while ignoring the whispers and glances she'd grown used to. A group of executives at the corner table had been snapping their fingers at her all evening, their smirks saying more than their words ever could. To them, she was just the help. She swallowed it down, like always. But then came the man at the center table, the kind of customer who changed the entire room when he walked in. He was sharp, commanding, the billionaire CEO everyone in town knew by name. His presence alone made managers fumble and staff straighten their uniforms. She treated him like any other guest, though her hands trembled slightly as she set down his check. That's when it happened. He paused. His eyes lingered on the bottom of the slip, not on the total, but on her handwriting. His brow furrowed, his lips parted. And then, in front of the entire dining room, his glass slipped from his hand, shattering against the floor. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. The room froze. Her first thought was fear. In a place where customers were always right, she braced herself for blame, humiliation, maybe even losing her job. But instead of anger, his expression was something else, shock. His gaze darted between her and the signature. He looked pale, shaken, like he'd just seen a ghost. The billionaire's hands shook as he held the slip of paper, his eyes fixed on that single signature. The room felt suffocating. Every guest stared, waiting for an explanation, while she stood frozen, her heart slamming against her ribs. Then his words cut through the silence. This is my mother's signature." Gasps rippled across the restaurant. Her chest tightened. Impossible. Her mother was a maid, a woman who spent her life cleaning other people's homes, invisible to the powerful. How could her name be tied to a man who lived in penthouses and boardrooms? But before she could speak, the whispers turned cruel. Some diners scoffed, muttering that it was a mistake, that a girl like her could never share anything with someone like him. Others laughed, sneering that she must have forged it. The weight of those words pressed down on her, each one cutting deeper than the last. The billionaire rose, his chair scraping loudly against the marble floor. His voice cracked, demanding answers she didn't have. The staff, nervous and fearful, circled her as if she were the problem, as if her very presence had tainted the air. The manager hissed at her to explain herself, his tone sharp and dismissive, the same tone she'd heard 100 times before when people saw only her skin, not her soul. She felt the sting of humiliation, the burn of injustice. All eyes accused her of something she hadn't done. And yet, in the billionaire's trembling gaze, there was more than doubt. There was recognition. In that crushing moment, she realized the truth wasn't just about a signature. It was about a legacy buried beneath wealth and prejudice, a secret that could no longer be hidden. The restaurant waited. Her voice trembled as she finally whispered, "That's my mother's name." And the room exploded. The noise in the restaurant didn't fade quickly. It lingered, sharp and heavy like judgment itself. But beneath the chaos, something undeniable had been revealed. The billionaire, shaken to his core, didn't see a waitress anymore. He saw a truth he couldn't erase, a connection his wealth and status had hidden from him for years. For her, though, the damage was already done. The humiliation, the whispers, the looks that said she didn't belong. Those scars wouldn't vanish when the dishes were cleared away. That night, she walked out of the restaurant changed, not because she had uncovered a hidden tie to power, but because she had been forced once again to stand under the harsh light of prejudice, to be doubted, ridiculed, and dismissed simply for existing. But in her silence there was power. The world had seen the truth, and sometimes truth itself is enough to crack walls built on privilege and denial. Her story is not an isolated one. It echoes through countless lives, black men and women who are questioned, disbelieved, or diminished, no matter how honest, how talented, how deserving they are. And while this moment exposed one hidden legacy, it also laid bare a far greater one, the enduring shadow of racism that still defines too many lives today. So the question remains, how many more stories like hers must unfold in plain sight before the world finally chooses to see, to listen, to change?